Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in across the continent and beyond for another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. For those of you joining us for the first time, of which there are many, particularly in Alberta today, I think we have half of Alberta joining, so a big hello to all of you. We are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world, and everything we do goes to our YouTube channel, so you can check out this program in 3 weeks or 3 years, or like 4,000 other broadcasts with the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth anytime you're keen. Now, today, of all the programs you could have joined for, I'm so glad you're wrapping up the week with us here, because back in April, we did the amazing National Wildlife Week celebration in collaboration with our friends at the Canadian Wildlife Federation. I really can't encourage you to check them out enough. There's no organization in Canada doing a better job of working to understand and save our wildlife coast to coast to coast. So much there to explore and discover. But after that 4-part series, we had to come back. You know what? We had to do a coup de grace and bring you back in for another amazing broadcast. And there's no better person the CWF could have chosen than John Wilmshurst. So today, for the International Day of Biological Diversity, we are going to talk about Canada's grasslands. I think when people think Canada, certainly when I did growing up as a boy, I thought Banff and big mountains, or BC and giant forests, or maybe the Arctic and frozen tundra, some really, really iconic ecosystems. Not many of us instinctually think of grasslands, but John is going to help change your mind about all that with a really deep dive into one of the most special ecosystems on planet Earth. So without further ado, you're not here for me. I'm going to zip it. John, welcome back to the broadcast, man, and take us away.
Thanks, Jesse. That's awesome. Great introduction. I'm super excited to be here today. I got a lot to go through. I've got a few slides I want to show you. Hopefully I can get this into the time with some time for Q&A afterwards. Before I get going, I want to tell you, I live in Jasper, Alberta, and I want to have a big shout out to all the kids in Jasper. I want to hear the screams. I got my window open. I want to hear you yelling.
I can hear them in Newfoundland, all the way from Newfoundland. I think I can hear them yelling.
Jasper's got loud kids. Okay, I'm going to start can I start my screen now, Jesse?
Let's do it, man. Let's dive in.
Do it. Okay, share screen.
Dive into the grasslands.
Okay, entire screen.
Oh, beautiful.
Is that working?
We're in like Flynn. Couldn't be better.
Awesome. Okay, let me get her going. Okay, hi. Welcome everyone to the presentation. I'm really excited to talk to you about grasslands. I know it's not the top of mind for everybody, but it's the top of mind for me every day, and I want to share a little bit of that excitement with you today. This is my title, Native Grasslands, the Celebration of International Day for Biological Diversity. It's kind of a weird title. I like to be a little bit more creative about this. I gave a presentation before last year, and we talked about weirdness in these critters. What are you looking at? This is a weird animal called the pronghorn, lives on the grasslands. A couple of years ago, I talked about grass and birds, and the question there, the title was, if birds don't eat grass, why do they live on grasslands? We talked all about that. I hope you caught that. It's probably still on YouTube if you want to check it out. You can see that stuff. Today, I want to talk about what are grasslands, where are they, and what's the big deal? Okay. I want to start way, way, way back. Talk about when grasslands first appeared. It was around the time of the dinosaurs, but just when the dinosaurs were about to go extinct. About 67 million years ago is kind of the first evidence that we had grass on Earth. It was all about measuring the pollen that grass spread in order to reproduce, and we can find grass pollen in the records going back right to the time when there were dinosaurs. No big deal though, because grass really wasn't a big part of the ecosystem at that time. Most of what we were seeing on the planet for vegetation was trees and shrubs and things like that, a lot of woody plants, but the grasses really weren't a very big deal. But I tell you something, there was a big deal about to happen about 65 million years ago. A meteorite hit the planet. The dinosaurs went extinct, killing almost everything. You know, about 3 out of every 4 living things on Earth died when that meteorite hit the planet, but it didn't kill the grass. The grass survived. And it's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, how tough grass is. But that extinction of the dinosaurs, the change in the world, was kind of grassland's moment. Slowly, grasses started to spread around the world. And with them, many plants and animals evolved. It took about 15 million years before grasses spread to all the continents, and about another 63 million years for people to show up. So grasses are at least 60 million, that's a big M, million years older than humans on Earth. Think about that for a second. 60 million years, grasses have been around longer than humans. And so you can see on this map, all the green bits here are where you can find grasslands in the world today. It's kind of the same as it was almost 60 million years ago, to be honest. Hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. I've got some big words on there. These are the different words that we use for grasslands. Cut off on the left-hand side of your screen, it should say prairies. It kind of cut off on my picture. But we call them savannas, we call them steppes, we call them velds. In South America, they call them pampas. Grasslands are a big deal all around the world. Even in the Antarctic, this is a picture from the British Antarctic Survey. This is a guy looking at grass. There's only really 2 species of plants that grow in the Antarctic, and one of them is a grass. So they're pretty tough. And even in the Antarctic, they only have a few weeks a year to grow, but that's enough for them to start growing and create little tiny grasslands. And that's important. This is a message you're going to come back to in this presentation, is that what we talk about when we talk about grasslands, and I'm going to get into that, it's not about how big it is, but what's there. And so the grasslands in the Antarctic are actually very, very small, but they're still considered grasslands because they're unique. Okay. Today is the International Day for Biological Diversity, and the theme of the day is acting locally for global impact. I want to talk about that as well and figure out what all of this means and see how we can all do this, take care of this local action and have an effect on the world. Not everybody's going to be able to go and visit a grassland like this vast area here in Saskatchewan, but it is important that we all think about what we can do in our neighborhoods and be aware of what's going on in the world in terms of different ecosystems. And my focus is grasslands, of course, but all kinds of ecosystems like the Arctic, like the oceans, those places. It is important locally that you feel like you know what you can have an impact, but understand what's happening in the world. Okay, if we're going to learn about grasslands, we first have to learn a little bit about grass. I know everybody thinks it's pretty boring, but it's not. Now, a lot of people think about grass like this. Here we got 3 slides, the top left. I wonder if you can see my pointer up here. So this is a grassland that you might find, or a lawn that you might find in your schoolyard. And here's one maybe in your front yard, and this is a soccer field. These are all grassy areas, but they're different than a grassland, and I'm going to tell you why. These have very few species on them. So a typical grassland, the type that I work on, will have hundreds of species of plants and insects and animals, birds, mammals, snakes, all kinds of things. A lawn, like what we're seeing here in the picture, is really important for our society for lots of different reasons, so we can have fun, so we can feel like we are doing something in our neighborhood to make oxygen and things like that. But they're really controlled, and they only have a few species. A couple of species of grass, maybe like a Kentucky bluegrass or a little ryegrass, maybe some dandelions, some clover. Not a lot of biological diversity in here. So I want to talk about why that biological diversity, where we can find that. Now listen, this is what a real grassland looks like. Now I'm going to try this. I don't know if I can. Oh no, look at that. I'm going to click on here. No, that doesn't work either. Oh, Jesse. The technology. Maybe if I do the control button. Yes.
Hey, there we go. Woo!
Grassland. I'm going to pan around here. Look at this grassland. There's all kinds of funny stuff happening here. There's even a little cactus. And this is in Canada. This is in Saskatchewan. There's a little cactus here. There's, of course, tons of grass. But look, there's like bare ground over here. There's even a little hole here where an animal is living. Maybe a pocket gopher is living in that. There's lots of rocks. It's messy. There's some flowers growing here. Look, if you look at the cactus, there's a little flower growing on the cactus. These are old flowers from last year, but there'll be lots of flowers growing here. So this is what a real grasslands look like. And what I like to always say is that a real grassland looks messy. It's biodiverse. So there's in this single picture, there's probably 20, 25 different species of plants in this area, far more than you would find in a lawn. So it's important that we understand that when we are thinking about biological diversity, that we're talking about a really kind of messy, sometimes an unusual environment. Okay, Now I got to zoom back out, click on the button. Okay, here we got some more information about grass. So grass is a plant. I think we all know that. It's actually a flowering plant. The flower for grassland is way up here. And it has a stem, it has leaves that we call blades, it has roots that grow into the ground. And sometimes the roots can be super, super big. We don't even know what's happening under that earth, but we know from our studies and from research that's been done that grasses can have very big roots, and these are really, really important. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a background on grass. We know what's going on with this as a plant. Let's talk about grasslands and people. Because grasslands are so great, they're also important for a lot of people. And that, my friends, is a big deal. Okay, why are grasslands so important to people? Pretty simple. The soil underneath grassland, and I could get into soil. I could spend like hours talking about soil.
I believe you.
It's amazing. But I'm not going to do that today. That's maybe next year. Tune in next year, maybe I can talk about soil. Soil is really a living thing, and there's all kinds of different types of soils. The soil that lives under grasslands, and I say lives because the soil is really a living thing. The soil that lives under grasslands is really great for growing crops. And so, and it's really easy, right? You don't have to cut down any trees. All you got to do is get your tractor out, put a plow down, and plow it up, and you've got you can grow a crop there. It makes it really easy for us to grow the food that we need to live as society if we're working on a grassland. It's not so easy if you have to cut down a whole forest, and actually the soils that are under a forest aren't really great for growing crops. And what am I talking about? Okay, a little bit of sort of nutrition happening here. I know everybody loves to talk about food and nutrition. So in the top left corner up here, we have wheat, a field of wheat growing. Now, we do not eat the wheat blades. We don't eat the wheat grass, but what we do is we harvest the wheat seeds, which is what we actually call wheat. We grind it up and turn it into flour, and we take that flour and we make things like bread with it. Lots of different things we make with flour. So humans cannot eat grass, but we can eat grass seed. And a lot of the things that are the staples of our diet are in fact grass seeds. Grasslands are really great for growing things like cows and sheep and horses. And these are things that we can also get food products from. Cows produce milk. We have milk products, cheeses, milk, yogurts, those types of things. And we also eat the meat from cows. And so it's also a really great place to do that. I want to talk a little bit about why it is that cows can eat grass and we can't. Cows and bison are really specialized. They have a particular special stomach. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And it's a really interesting story. But what's special about them is we can raise them on grasslands. They can eat grass, and they can turn that grass into meat. Now, you think about the green things that you eat, right? Broccoli. Is that a grass? Nope. It's actually a flower. You're actually eating the flower. And then there's all kinds of fruits that are green. There's grapes and there's apples, avocados, and actually cucumber. It's also a fruit. We think of it as a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit. Those are green, but they're also not grass. We have things like spinach and lettuce and Brussels sprouts. Everybody's favorite, Brussels sprouts. Big cheer out for Brussels sprouts. Those are green, but they're also not grass. They're leaves, but they're not grass leaves. They're more digestible. They're a little softer. What we know about grass is they're just like Chuck Norris. They are tougher than you. They're so tough, in fact, that cows have to have this super special system in order to eat them. And I'm going to tell you something that you maybe did not know, but cows eat grass, but they can't digest it. So I'm going to take a couple of seconds here. I'm going to turn on my laser pointer and see if this technology works, Jesse. Can you see this little red dot now?
It does. We see your laser, cow laser.
Awesome. Okay, so the cow is going to eat the grass. It's going to go down its esophagus into its stomach, and it actually has 4 stomachs: 1, 2, 3, and 4. The grass goes into the first stomach, and what it's in that first stomach, there are literally billions of little animals that are really happy to eat that grass. They love that grass. They're really tiny though, so what the cow has to do is chew that grass up, chew it up, chew it up, chew it up, chew it up, and then it actually barfs it back into its mouth, chews it again, swallows it again, and those microbes get in there. They start eating that grass, eating that grass, eating that grass. And then those microbes poop out fat. And then the cow will then, when the grass gets really small, they actually digest not only the poop of the microbes, but they actually digest the microbes themselves. So the cows actually aren't digesting the grass. They're feeding a little farm of animals in their stomach, and that farm of animals is providing the food for the cows. So then when that microbe poop comes out, it goes into this next stomach. The grass is now small enough, it can pass through the stomach. It goes into this next stomach, then passes into the rear digestive system, and then all the way out till it becomes a cow patty. But the cow is eating the grass, but it's only doing so to feed the animals that are in its stomach. I love that story because I think it's super, super crazy. Anyway, on to the next thing. Hang on a sec. There we go. So if you learn anything today, what you really need to remember is that grass is really, really, really hard to eat. It's not bad for you. It's not toxic. It's not poisonous, but it tastes terrible. And there's lots of things in grass that almost make it impossible for you to digest. So we do not recommend that you try to eat grass. It's got all these little hard woody bits around the sugars that are in it that are things that you cannot possibly extract and to get nutrition. So if you were to eat, like go out in your front yard right now and start grazing, you'd fill your stomach up with stuff that you couldn't digest, and that would really hurt. Now, I want to get back to the theme that grass is important. And I don't want to suggest that, even though your front yard is not biodiverse, it's not an important thing. For society, for people, it's really nice to have a front lawn. You can go and you can play on there, or even a backyard. You can play on there. We do all kinds of sports on yards and lawns, and that's really a great thing. Grass is really versatile. It can take a beating. You can run all over it. It'll stay green. It's easy to maintain. You don't have problems with beavers if you got grass in your front yard. So, it's a really fun thing for society to maintain. And we're not going to, I'm not going to sit here and say to you guys, you shouldn't have a grassy front lawn, but you should have a natural grassland out there. No, I'm not going to say that. And I'm even going to say that's really important. I mean, it's obvious that we need to have wheat fields. We need to have farmers. We need to do this. We need to have space to use grasslands to grow food for us, because we need a lot of food. There's a lot of people on Earth, and everybody's eating food that's grown in grasslands, whether it be wheat, but it could be things like corn, which is also a grass, or oats, also a grass. These are really important things for us to be able to grow in grassland ecosystems. We can share. But we also need to know that things about biodiversity, biological diversity on grasslands is also really important to maintain. And these are the things that can only exist on native grasslands. Here's some pictures of some swift foxes. A little pipit is up there. We have a picture of a badger that I took a couple of years ago. And there's tons of bugs that are really important for everybody and for biological diversity that live on grasslands. But what's the problem? The problem is this. This is called a pie chart, everybody. And the idea of a pie chart is that it shows you two or more little segments of the world. So if the whole pie was all the native grasslands in the world, the 80%, this chunk here, is the chunk that we've converted from native grasslands, biodiverse grasslands, grasslands with all kinds of interesting animals and plants and things on it. We've converted that to crops. Really important, but a lot. Only 20% do we have left that's native, that's going to support all that biodiversity. And that's a problem, because we've eaten a lot of this pie chart. It's okay that we feel that we can maintain biological diversity with the 20% that's left, but we certainly cannot take any more. And that is a big deal. So we've converted enough native grassland to crops. We have to stop converting native grasslands to these things, conserve and protect what we have left, and where possible, even restore some croplands that are not really good for growing crops, and then find really great ways to maintain food production in the grasslands that we've converted already to crops. So the 20% that's left is really important that we try to conserve that. And that's kind of the work that I do in grasslands. Okay. Why are grasslands so important to biological diversity? This is the International Day for Biological Diversity. I want to talk a little bit about what does international mean, and then I want to talk about what biological diversity is. Sometimes I call it biodiversity. Okay. I want to show a little video. I'm terrible at this. Okay, see if this works. Oh, there's my laser pointer.
Moment of truth.
Show. Oh, hang on. Let's turn the laser pointer off. There we go. Okay.
Beautiful.
This is international, folks. That's my home in Jasper. Peeling around, we see where all the grasslands in the world are: South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, even a little bit of Antarctica showed up in there. That zooms back to my home. So that's what international means. It means everywhere. All the places, all the countries in the world, and almost every country in the world has some sort of grassland. So that is what we mean by international, all over the world. Oh, let's doing it again. Jesse,
we get to go into
there we go.
Place. There we go.
There we go. And this is what we mean by biological diversity. Biology is living things. Diversity means, lots of different kinds of things. And so what that really means is all the living things on Earth, the variety of different living things on Earth. And this means really cool things like giraffes, little things like bug larvae, cool things like the secretary bird. Those are all biological diversity. But even the creepy crawlies, so the little tiny bugs and flies and mosquitoes, mushrooms, snakes, and all the different plants, that's all biological diversity. It means everything that's alive. Today is the day where we reflect on what biological diversity means, what it means to us, why it's important, and what we have to do to make sure that we have it into the future. And the theme for today is acting locally for global impact. This is a really cool animal. This is Jesse's favorite owl that he's only seen once in his entire life. And we all have to put in a big cheer for Jesse that he gets out to a grassland again and has a chance to see a burrowing owl. It's a really cool little creature, tiny little bird. Tiny little bird lives in a hole in the ground in a grassland, but it spends its summers in northern United States and southern Canada, but migrates all the way to Mexico for the winters. And it is a truly international animal. It's an international traveler. And they're cute. Cute. Okay, I'm going to go back to this picture. What do grasslands mean for international biodiversity? So because we find grasslands all over the world, it means that if we protect the biodiversity on grasslands, we are doing so internationally. We're doing it everywhere, not just locally. But we've got a bit of a problem, particularly in North America. If you look at the picture on the left, this is what the Great Plains, what we call the Great Plains of North America, looked like not all that long ago. They were this big yellow or orange patch there was complete. It really supported a lot of biological diversity, but if you look at the right hand plot there over here, this is what we got today. About 80% of that is gone, and we've converted it to other things for food. But it is still there, but it still doesn't function like a real natural grassland. It means that things like bison, which used to be like 60 million bison on the Great Plains of North America, they're not there anymore. There's a few around, a few small herds, but we can't really we don't have enough intact grasslands to keep those big herds going. So we've lost a lot of that biological diversity on the Great Plains because of the work that we've done. And so we have to protect what's left, and that's the message. So, I don't want to just talk about all the things that we could lose. I said in my title that this should be a celebration, so let's celebrate. A few pictures here to wrap up about some of the amazing plants and animals that we can still find in grasslands, the animals that you can see yourself if you go and visit a grassland. This is a real picture from a grassland in Africa. It's a hind, a bunch of vultures, kind of a dark photo. Still cool animals, but look at this. This is a sage grouse. This is a sage grouse, people. They live in Alberta and northern United States and North Dakota and Montana, also in Saskatchewan. An incredible bird lives and depends on grasslands. And we have these incredible, crazy bugs. This is a blister beetle. And it's called a blister beetle because if it gets on your hand, it will create a little blister because of the little acids that are on its body. And there's lots of bugs on the grasslands, boys and girls, and lots of bugs on the grasslands. Look at this ostrich, cool, goofy animal, and a grassland animal. They live on the savannas of Africa. And then here's Jesse's favorite, the burrowing owl. I talked about these guys already. Live in Canada, they breed in Canada and the northern United States, and they holiday in Mexico in the winter, like a lot of us like to do. And then lions. I don't have time, I think, at the end to talk about my idea for recovering lions, but this is called the king of the jungle. Well, it's actually a female lion, supposed to be the queen of the jungle, but they're actually not a jungle animal, they're a grassland animal. Okay, I want to get back to acting locally for global impact. So what does this mean? What can you do? I mean, you've already started. You're here listening to this seminar, this webinar. You're learning about native grasslands, and that's really the first important step. You're learning where they are, what they are, and why they're important. But you can do things yourself at home. This is my front yard. I've got this little tiny native garden started in my front yard. You'll see there's lots of little things here. I've got some flowers. I'm going to put my laser pointer back on. I know that's dangerous, but here we go. So we've got some some flowers growing here. I just took this picture a couple of days ago, so there's really not a lot of growth yet, but there'll be grasses growing in here. And then the important thing is this little bucket here. So whenever we get a package of native seeds that we want to start propagating in our front yard, and anybody can do this, it's actually really easy to do, but we started it in this bucket because sometimes those native seed packs have weeds in them, and so we check first to make sure that there's no weeds in it, and if it's good, then we will take this soil here and we'll plant it somewhere here to make sure that we're only planting native plants in our seed, but in our yard. And so this is something that you can do easily at home. Carve out a little space. There's not, this is a tiny, tiny space, and you can start a native plant garden in your home, and we'll have like cool little insects and butterflies and hummingbirds and things like that visiting this once the flowers come out in the summer. And then the other thing that I think is really important is that when you get a little older and you're thinking about, oh, what do I want to do with my life? Oh, these are really big questions. I don't know what to do anymore. You can do things that help nature. And every year, our organization, we hire lots of students, high school students and early university students, to go and help us do the work in the grasslands and all over, actually, the country. And so these are things that you can do. You can find a job and get an education and learn about and have an experience in a native grassland. So I think that's really something that you can do as well. Just be ambitious and think about, oh, wow, this is something that I can do spending my life. And then there's a bunch of little things here that we suggest that you can do. You can learn more about local species and the challenges that they face. So Jesse is a great guy for that. He's going to help you. If you follow his programs, you'll learn lots about the local species and the challenges that they face wherever you live. You can contribute to what's called citizen science, which is where people like you and me actually record data that goes to real scientists, and they will analyze the data and figure out what's going on in the world. And there's an app for your phone. It's called iNaturalist, and you can contribute to nature data collection that way. You can also join local clubs or conservation groups working on projects in your area. You can volunteer to help promote biological conservation and biodiversity in your area. And then, of course, it's really important that you share what you learn with your family and friends, because that's really, knowledge is power, people. The more people know about what's going on, the more benefits we'll have for protecting biodiversity on our planet. Okay, so that's it for me.
Amazing.
Do we have time for questions? I know
we got lots of time we have so much time for questions. I can hardly stand it.
Oh yeah, awesome.
John, first of all, thank you for the deep dive, the passion, the enthusiasm, all of it. I know some of our students might not pick up on this the same way that I would, having hosted like 2,000 of these, but the pictures you choose are both informative and hilarious throughout the entire thing, and I just appreciate it very much. The cow side eye was my favorite of the lot. Much appreciated. We've already got a bunch of questions in our chat, and we've got lots of time for more, so keep coming in our YouTube chat. Katie wants to know, you talked about that we can't eat grasses. Are there any grasses that we can get benefits from besides them tasting terrible and filling up our stomachs on Earth, just out of curiosity?
That's a good question. Like you can get things like a smoothie with wheatgrass in it, but you're not probably getting a lot that's like put through a blender. Probably not a lot of really great nutrition out of that. I mean, mostly what we get from grasses for nutrition is going to be the seeds. But actually, what's interesting is sometimes we can get the sugar. So sugar cane is a type of grass, and we get sugar from that, but it has to be heavily processed before we can do it. You can chew on sugar cane, you can get the sweetness, so something like that, but you can't really digest the fibers part of the grass.
Great question.
But great question, Katie.
Katie, and we're coming back to you in a minute. So, John, I mentioned before the program, we have students in Nicaragua. Katie is always first with all questions. That's where she's from. So,
wow,
to her.
Crazy.
Ms. Varden's class, a little closer to home, our 5-6s, they want to know which continent has the most grassland habitat. Is it us in North America, or where might it be?
It used to be us, but it's not anymore. It's Africa now. So Africa and Asia have far more grassland habitat than we do. Large part because in Africa, the grassland soils there are pretty thin, and so it's really not great for converting to crops. And so they've maintained a lot of it as natural grassland. And so, Africa has the largest area of natural grassland in the world, followed by Asia, parts of Australia, and then North America.
It's really funny growing up as a boy in North America, like prairie was just a term that I heard. And then all these things sound really exciting. The pampas or the
exactly.
Yeah. So a personal question, do you have a favorite name of the kind of grassland? Because Veld is mine by a huge margin. Like Veld sounds awesome. Any preference?
I like Savannah because I think it's a really lovely name. I've known a couple of friends whose name was Savannah. I like that a lot. And I don't know, it kind of rolls off your tongue, and it sort of makes me think of, vast open spaces. Savannah I really like.
Yep. And I want to go to Savannah, Georgia, which seems like a lovely city. So we're
awesome. Okay. I'll meet you there.
We've got a question which might be really easy or might be incredibly challenging. What is your favorite grassland animal? No pressure.
Oh, come on. That's not fair. It's like saying,
I know. They're cruel, these kids. Cruel.
Okay. They are cruel. I'm going to say the pronghorn. I really like the pronghorn. They're really a cool animal. For years, we thought they were antelope, but now we know they're actually more closely related to giraffes. I think that they're really weird, and I like weird animals. And I've got a project right now where we're studying pronghorn, which I find super, super fun. And also, they're really a great conservation story because we almost killed all of the pronghorn that were left in the Great Plains, like not that long ago, 100 years ago. And we created national parks in Canada specifically to conserve and to restore pronghorn to the Great Plains. And we were successful, so successful that we actually were able to then close the national parks at the end of it, let the pronghorn go. And now pronghorn are actually doing pretty well. We still have to pay attention. There's lots of problems, but man, they're doing okay. So I would say they're my favorite.
It's pretty cool. Amazing story, by the way, sort of a testament to what we feature in a lot of our conservation shows, which is when you leave room for nature, when you don't consistently knock it back, nature comes thriving back. Like it's like the one universal ocean, land, everything. Everyone should look up pronghorn. They're such a freaky cool animal and fastest creature on earth. Like they're insanely fast, really, really special animal. So on this note of bringing something back, you highlighted that there was so much grassland millions of years ago. We've really reduced it in the last few hundred years, particularly.
Yeah.
How about lately, like in the last few decades, where we've really gained this sort of public consciousness of the importance of ecosystems, are our grasslands getting bigger in Canada, getting lower in Canada, native grasslands still less? Okay.
Yeah, still less. So it takes about a day to convert a native grassland into a crop field, and it takes about 50 years to convert a cropland back to a native grassland. So, it's really, really challenging. Restoration is something that we like to do, and we work a little bit with an organization called the Alberta Conservation Association. They have lots of activity in southern Alberta, and they're doing a really great job of restoring some native grassland there, but it's a lot of work. And in 15 years, they've sort of barely made some progress in that. So it is really, really difficult. And we continue to convert native grassland to crops faster than the other way.
I'm really happy you mentioned the time scale in this, because this is something that we've heard in our coral reef broadcast before too, where it's like 1,000 years to make a coral reef and like one bottom trawler and it's gone.
So, like that, yeah.
What this underscores, like the most important thing, was I think a lot of classes, when I was a boy, I thought, oh, we'll bring back everything. Well, we'll bring back these species. We'll bring back all these places. And it's way easier and cheaper and better to just save what we have, to protect what we have, to definitely grow it back. Like it's not, every bit helps, But the best thing we can do is not chop down the forest, not get rid of the grassland. And there's a lot of work being done there, but the more we can do, the better. And our kids live and breathe that stuff every day. Great.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Ms. Varden's class has tons of questions. So, okay. One we've had for years. Why are lions called the king of the jungle if they actually live in grasslands? I know.
That happened before I was born. I don't know. Somebody decided they were king of the jungle. I mean, they do live in jungles. You can find lions in sort of jungly areas, but really the prime habitat for jungles is grasslands. We can change that, people. We can act locally, think and start that change. Start calling them the king of the grasslands. I think that'd work too.
Yeah, great questions, guys. All right, I love this question. So this is from Long Beach in New York. Welcome in, Mr. Onifrock's class. So scientists are trying to bring back these extinct creatures. I have a lot of opinions on this. Do you think that would work with any creatures of the grasslands?
I mean, it could work for any creature in the grassland for sure, but it's really, as Jesse just pointed out, it's way easier to conserve what we have now than count on the fact that we can bring something that's extinct back later. So I think it's probably possible. It's not my field of research, but I wouldn't want to be going down that way.
I always want to stress for folks too that, like when they conserve things in Madagascar, it's like a few $1 million can help protect an entire national park for the next 100 years. And we're talking billions and billions of dollars to get the technology, maybe bring something back. And, don't get me wrong, it's really exciting. Like when people hear de-extinction, it's why you see on the cover of every magazine nowadays. Like, ask any scientist in the world that doesn't work for the de-extinction company, and they do not think that they have brought anything back from extinction. So it's way better in so many ways to support the amazing conservation work of groups like the Canadian Wildlife Federation. It goes so much further and better than trying to bring something back that is dead. And if that's even possible, and that's a big if rather than a when. So I like that question, guys. We get it a lot in our program. So really, really appreciate it. All right, Ms. Varden's class. How many different kinds of animals in the savanna or prairie or any other grassland are eaten by people?
Oh my God. I mean, exactly. I mean, if you think about it, what we eat in North America, in the savanna, is, in terms of animals that are raised on grasslands, is largely cattle. A little bit of sheep, some goats, and things like that. There are wildlife, so there's deer and elk and moose. Moose, we're finding them more and more on grasslands. They're more of a forest, wetland species. So you can hunt those and you can eat that as well. I think that's what your question is. And then when you go around the world, grasslands are supporting all kinds of animals that are being eaten by people who eat meat. And so they're really critical for that. And the key thing here, Ms. Varden's class, is that the animals that are living on the grasslands are able to convert that grass into meat. This is not something that we can do. We can eat as much grass as we want. We're never going to convert that into something that into meat for ourselves. So that's the critical component, is that we can take advantage of these critters that have developed this incredible biological cooperation with their stomachs to take grass and convert that into meat that we can eat.
I love that you did a deep dive with the laser pointer of how cows turn grass into meat.
I'm a high-tech guy, with that laser pointer.
You are killing it with a slide deck and a laser pointer. My goodness. I am, you highlighted your own personal effort to bring back native grasses and do things in your own property. For our classes that might be keen, and again, we've got kids everywhere from like Alberta to Nicaragua today. How do you find out what the native plants are and the native grasses that you can put in your yard or school or whatever? Is there a one-stop shop for this on the world, or no?
There's not one-stop shop. There's lots of different resources. I really like to go to iNaturalist, because I find you'll find that people will take a picture of a grass or a plant, and they'll put it on iNaturalist. They'll ask it to be identified, and then there's lots of extra information that's put on there. It'll tell you if it's an invasive species for that area, if it's a dangerous species, or if it's a native species, and then you can start to build up your knowledge about what can grow here. So that's one of my favorite resources. There's all kinds of databases online and pictures of things and all of that where you can find out what's important, what grows locally, and it is important, because what grows here for me in my garden in Jasper is going to be very different than what grows in New York or Nicaragua. It won't be the same species at all. And what might grow in my garden here could be actually dangerous to plant in a garden in Nicaragua. So I would make sure that you're looking at the local plants first.
Yeah, a lot of municipalities, so cities, regions, the states will have like a thing of the native plants that you can do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conservation organizations that are really focused on this right now, particularly
Yeah.
around pollinators and bringing back native birds and bees and things like that. So
Yeah.
look for your local nature center and they will guide you in the right direction. It's the best advice that I can give, certainly.
And honestly, like right across the street from the Jasper Elementary School, where we've
Yeah.
got like 1 million kids today watching this, is a native garden that's at the Jasper Library. So if you go just across the street and go to the library, there's a natural garden growing there. It's kind of it's only been a couple of years being underway, but there's lots of really fun stuff there. So go check it out.
I know where I grew up, the Toronto Public Library does a lot of stuff with seed banks. I'm in Corner Brook now in Newfoundland. They have a seed garden and seed banks for things like this. Libraries are the best for lots of reasons, but that's just one more to add to the list. This Patterson class, Argyle Center. What is the most famous grass type? This is from Faith. Is there like a iconic grass on planet Earth?
Yeah. So, so we can talk about the crops. So corn is a grass. Right. And it's a native grass somewhere, just not everywhere. So it's a really famous one. Obviously, wheat is really famous. These are really famous kind of cultivated grasses. I think the one that you're going to find almost everywhere, certainly in North America, is a grass called Kentucky bluegrass. It is originated in Eastern Canada and the United States, so that's why it's called Kentucky. It is actually kind of a blue color, but it's a really hardy grass and it grows well in shade. And so you're finding it a lot in almost every seed mix that you have for your yard will have Kentucky bluegrass in it. And I see it everywhere, wherever I sample, even native grasslands, I'll find Kentucky bluegrass. It is spread all throughout North America. So in terms of famous grasses, I would say that was probably it, but there's all kinds of interesting crop species that are famous too.
There's some studies that I can't pull up on a moment's notice, but it's like looking at how much of a land in a place like Toronto is Kentucky bluegrass, and it's astonishing. Like it's just so ridiculous
everywhere.
When you do like a land assessment of how much of a city is parking lot and how much is lawn, and it's like 10 to 20%. Like it's a totally absurd figure. Because that's how we live and sort of how we've decided to build our cities. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
John, we have more questions in the chat than we could possibly take in one broadcast. We are nearing the end, so I'm going to encourage all our classes. Honestly, canadasgrasslands.ca, amazing website. John just introduced me to before the show. Really great resource with a really cool quiz at the end that I'd encourage our class to check out. And then Canadian Wildlife Federation has an amazing site. They're all over social media. Can't encourage you to learn more enough there. But before we wrap up and say farewell, is there any final message sort of tying it all together about grasslands you want to leave us with today?
Well, I mean, one of the really important things I think is to recognize that, we certainly in Canada, we think of grasslands as being a Western phenomenon. Only, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba have grasslands, but it's actually not true. Southern Ontario was a vast grassland. There's lots of grasslands in British Columbia. We even find grasslands in the Maritimes in terms of salt marshes and things like that are really kind of grasslands, but they certainly have grassland species. And so even if you don't live in a prairie area, so either in the Midwest of the United States or Western Canada, there's probably a grassland near you, and I bet you if you went and visited, you'd find some really cool and interesting things there.
I'm heading on my first flight out to come see you and see the grasslands again there, and I can just walk down the road and see one here too. So, John, so much fun. Thank you so much for coming back to wrap up our amazing Canadian Wildlife Federation series. Again, as we mentioned at the beginning, these are all on YouTube. So you can share these with your friends, family, everyone. Head there, 3 weeks, 3 years, take a look. Lots to explore and discover. And as we do to wrap up every broadcast, we're just going to say a big farewell. If you're at home and you want to scream and yell and annoy the principal, you have to. We both give you permission. So farewell for now, guys, and we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day.